Discover the incredible journey of a broke nurse who changed a hidden millionaire's life forever. Sarah raced through the crowded ER, her heart pounding and her mind focused. Just another night in the bustling urban hospital where every second mattered. Every face told a story, every moan a plea for help. As a dedicated nurse, she poured herself into each patient, every interaction a testament to her relentless spirit. But beneath her unwavering resolve lay the burdens of student loans, bills stacked to the ceiling, and the echo of her son Jake's laughter reminding her of the life she wanted to give him. Tonight, the chaos intensified as the ambulance doors swung open. An elderly man with deep-set eyes and a weathered face was wheeled in, gasping for air. Without a moment's hesitation, Sarah approached him. "I'm here to help you, Mr. Thompson," she said, pulling together all her calming strength. He looked at her with a mix of gratitude and vulnerability, and she felt a flicker of connection ignite. In that unscripted moment, while setting up his four, they shared stories, he of a past filled with adventures and lost connections, she of a single mother's endless fight to provide for her son. As laughter escaped their lips and silent tears filled their eyes, the hospital corridor faded. In a world where struggles intertwined, their souls danced on the vibrations of shared resilience. But amid this healing bond, Sarah's manager's warning haunted her like a shadow: "Be cautious, Sarah. He's not like us." Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the night dragged on, whispers among the staff turned into a swirling storm in her heart. Society's expectations loomed large, and Sarah's insecurities bubbled to the surface. Could she truly allow this connection to flourish without fear of judgment? The same community that had wrapped around her during sleepless nights and difficult times now felt like an intrusive audience, waiting to pounce on any misstep. Days blurred into nights as she and Mr. Thompson found solace in one another. They forged a friendship that transcended their lives, bridged by understanding, until a cruel twist introduced doubt. A misunderstanding sparked by gossip about their peculiar bond broke the harmony they had built. Torn between her deep-seated desire for unity and the glaring realities of class differences, Sarah stood at a precipice. In that moment, the weight of judgment pressed down harder than the stethoscope around her neck. What if she let herself get close to someone who could help, only to drown in the perceptions of others? The voices she held dear echoed in her mind, but her heart whispered, "This connection feels right." And while the cacophony of fear intensified, all she could think of was Jake's future. Just as she was about to make a choice, the phone rang with urgency, shaking her from her thoughts. "We need you, Sarah. It's Mr. Thompson." The words crashed down like thunder, leaving her breathless. They were about to face life-altering decisions that would intertwine their fates forever. Would they dare to defy the odds, or would the lines drawn by society keep them apart? Sarah's heart raced as she sprinted towards the room where Mr. Thompson had been rushed. Panic clawed at her stomach. She felt a mix of urgency and fear. What could have happened? Just hours ago, they'd shared laughter over stories of youth and courage. Now, she could only hope the bond they forged wasn't slipping away. Bursting through the swinging double doors, she found chaos. Beeping machines and frantic voices filled the air. Nurses whipped past her, and she caught a glimpse of the doctors huddled over Mr. Thompson, their faces grave. The scent of antiseptic mixed with the anxiety flooding the room. "Is he okay?" The words slipped out before Sarah could think. One of the nurses turned, her expression a mask of professionalism. "We're doing everything we can, but he is struggling. His heart is failing." Struggling? Those words shook Sarah to her core. The man who shared his life stories with her was fighting for his own. All the doubts that had circled her mind fled as she felt the urgency to act. She wasn't just a nurse, she was his friend. She reached out, squeezing his hand as the medical team worked. His eyes fluttered open, and even in pain, he attempted a weak smile. "Sarah," he gasped, recognition illuminating his pain-clouded features. "I'm here," she replied, squeezing his hand tighter. "Just hold on." Time stretched as the seconds turned into what felt like hours. She watched helplessly, feeling the bond they had crafted shimmer in the face of such despair. Around them, the professionals worked with regimented precision, but it was her simple presence that anchored Mr. Thompson, at least for a moment. But then something shifted. A wave of fear washed over her. Would she lose him before they had a chance to explore this uncharted territory of friendship or even something more? The thought gripped her heart with icy fingers. "Get the defibrillator," commanded the attending doctor, his face tense as he prepared to shock Mr. Thompson's unstable heartbeat back to life, a terrifying dance with fate unfolding before her eyes. "Stay with me, Mr. Thompson." Sarah's voice broke under the weight of her emotion. "You can't leave me now. We have so much more to share." In a split second, the doctor pulled the lever, and the room filled with the crackling sound of electricity, sheer desperation etched into every face present. Sarah felt the air shift, a moment of raw vulnerability that coursed through her. Was this truly how their connection would end? Would society's expectations take away the possibility of grasping a deeper life with someone who understood her heartache? With the sudden jolt of energy came a resurgence of hope. The machines beeped more steadily. She watched as Mr. Thompson regained his strength, his eyes locking onto hers with determination. "Sarah," he whispered with a newfound spark. "Don't let go." As relief flooded the air, the chaos began to settle. But just as Sarah grasped the immense weight of what it meant to fight for him, something in the doorway caught her eye. It was her manager, arms crossed, eyes narrowed, the embodiment of doubt and judgment, standing silently, like a judge waiting to deliver a verdict. The tension in the air felt palpable. Uncertainty bubbled up again as Sarah realized this wasn't just about Mr. Thompson anymore. It was a battle against her own fears, her insecurities, and the very society that dictated who she could connect with. Would she let this moment govern her decisions? Or would she rise above it, holding tight to the one connection that felt destined? In that fleeting moment, a decision began to form in her heart, one that would challenge everything. But the choice she needed to make still loomed ahead. How would she solidify this bond in the face of uncertainty? Would she take a leap of faith, regardless of the consequences? The sudden silence following the chaos felt unreal. For a moment, Sarah could hardly breathe. Mr. Thompson's eyes, once clouded with pain, now glimmered with a flicker of the spirit she had grown so fond of. The world around them faded, leaving just the two of them in a bubble of raw emotion. She could feel her own heart pounding against her ribs. The doctor's tense posture relaxed slightly, but the weight of her manager's gaze still pressed heavily on her shoulders. Sarah glanced over her shoulder, feeling a swell of rebellion rise against the judgment laced in that glare. No one could understand, not really. This connection wasn't something they could quantify or categorize. It was something lived, something felt. "Sarah," Mr. Thompson repeated, his voice barely above a whisper, yet it radiated strength. You have no idea how much this means to me." "Of course, I do," she replied softly, fighting to keep the tears at bay. "We've shared so much. You're not alone in this." A faint smile creased his lips, though his breathing remained labored. "You really think that?" "Absolutely." She squeezed his hand again, transfixed by the fire in his gaze. Each second felt monumental, each heartbeat a testament to the miracles they often took for granted. "You can't leave me now. We have stories left to tell." Suddenly, another wave of urgency rippled through the room. Nurses buzzed back into action, and a doctor approached with a serious expression. "Mr. Thompson," he said, eyes darting from the monitor to Sarah, "we think you're stabilizing, but we want to order some tests." You need to allow us to take care of you. Do whatever it takes, Sarah said firmly, her voice steady. She wouldn't let fear turn this moment into something dark. She needed to fight for him, for them. He's got to stay here. I won't quit on him. The doctor nodded, and the process resumed, the machinery surrounding them thrumming like a heartbeat of its own. Every hum and beep felt linked to Mr. Thompson's recovery. With the bustle, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling of her manager's presence looming like a storm cloud. She glanced back again, and saw a flicker of disbelief in their eyes. They clearly didn't understand why she was so invested in this patient. Her heart sank for a moment, heavy with worry about the repercussions she might face. But then she caught Mr. Thompson's eye again. His smile bolstered her courage, and in that instant, she felt a surge of determination. She leaned closer, blurring the boundaries of professional etiquette, allowing herself to be vulnerable. I won't let anyone take this away from us, Mr. Thompson. Please promise me you'll stay strong. I promise, he breathed, his commitment anchoring her. But Sarah, what will they say? Her breath hitched as she considered the weight of her choices. Let them say what they want, she replied defiantly. Sometimes, the heart knows where it belongs, despite everything. You and we defy the odds. But as she spoke, a knot of doubt twisted in her stomach. Did she truly mean those words? Could she stand up against the world for this connection? In the midst of this internal war, a new thought flickered in her mind, causing her to hesitate. What if revealing their connection and unconventional friendship born from two different worlds could be the key to change, fundamental for others like them? What if their bond could inspire others to break free from societal judgment, too? And just then, a nurse entered with shocking news. Everyone turned to her, breath bated, as she cleared her throat. We found something in the tests that changes everything. Sarah's heart raced anew, mixing hope with unbridled anticipation. What could possibly unfold next? Would this revelation risk everything, or could it strengthen the bond they needed to navigate the path ahead? The nurse's eyes were wide, and the weight of her words hung in the air like a dense fog. Sarah's heart quickened, fear battling with the intoxicating rush of curiosity. Mr. Thompson's gaze intensified, his grip on her hand tightening as if to draw strength from her presence. What did the tests show? He asked, his voice stronger now, fueled by a spark of hope. The nurse glanced at the doctor, who nodded slightly, encouraging her to continue. We found a condition that, when treated early, could lead to a full recovery. But it requires immediate attention. It's serious, but manageable. A wave of relief washed over Sarah, tinged with the icy fingers of anxiety. What does that mean for him? She pressed, desperate for clarity. It means we can help him, the doctor interjected, stepping forward. The commotion around them faded momentarily, amplifying the importance of those words. But it also means we need to act fast. We'll need to start a treatment plan right away. With his cooperation he can overcome this. Sarah's tears finally spilled over, a mix of joy and fear. In one breath, she felt the world shift beneath them. You hear that, Mr. Thompson? She managed, her voice quivering. You're going to fight. We're going to make it through this. His eyes sparkled with a flicker of mischief. I may need a good nurse by my side. Yes, you do. She chuckled, wiping the tears away. I'll be right here. As the medical team began to work, an undeniable shift enveloped the room. The tension laced with despair morphed into something lighter, an atmosphere charged with possibility. The nurses moved with purpose, a synchronized dance of their own, and Sarah felt a sense of belonging wash over her. Here, amidst the beeping machines and hurried footsteps, purpose pulsed through her veins. After a while, they started in four, and Mr. Thompson's brow relaxed, the chaos becoming background noise. Sarah settled into a nearby chair, unwilling to let go of his hand, feeling his warmth under her palm. Do you think it's really going to work? He asked, his voice barely more than a whisper. I believe in you, she replied. In us. They shared a moment of silence, both absorbing the gravity of what lay ahead. And just when Sarah thought a sense of calm had settled, she noticed a flicker of movement in the hallway, a figure spilling into the room, tense and assertive. It was her manager, a shadow cast over his features. He glared at Sarah, then at Mr. Thompson, a storm brewing just behind those steely eyes. "Sarah," he commanded, crossing his arms. "We need to talk. This isn't right. You can't let your feelings cloud your judgment here." Every word from him felt like a slap, shattering the fragile calm they had found. Instantly, Sarah felt defensive, but she stood her ground, drawing on the conviction she had shared with Mr. Thompson. "Work's not just a place to clock in and out for me," she replied, her voice steady despite the whirlwind swirling inside. "I care about my patients, about him. This is about more than job expectations." "But you will ruin your career," he countered, his tone sharp as knives. "No. I'm fighting for something real," she shot back, her heart pounding. "And if you can't see that, maybe you're the one who needs to reconsider your beliefs." For a brief moment, silence fell again, the air thickening with unspoken challenges. Mr. Thompson's gaze flicked between them, uncertainty creeping into his expression. "Do you really believe we can change things?" he asked quietly, his voice now filled with apprehension. Her heart kicked into overdrive. "I do. We can't let fear hold us back. We have to take this leap." As she spoke, something shifted within her. Clarity emerged amidst the chaos, and she realized this was not just about them anymore. Their journey could echo through the walls of convention, could inspire others trapped in silence. And as Sarah looked back at her manager, daring him to challenge her once more, she understood everything they fought for might hinge on this moment. "Sarah," Mr. Thompson began, a serious look crossing his face. "Wait, I have to know," she urged, her breath catching once again. "What do you want from me? What happens next?" Just as Mr. Thompson opened his mouth to answer, the doctor stepped back in, bringing more questions and revelations that threatened to shape their futures forever. The doctor cleared his throat, diverting attention back to the issue at hand. "Let us focus on Mr. Thompson's treatment plan first," he said, authority etched into every word. "We need to start with medications right away, followed by a series of tests to chart the best course of action. It will take teamwork and commitment." Sarah turned back to Mr. Thompson, her heart racing. "You're going to get through this," she said, squeezing his hand firmly. "We'll tackle each step together. One day at a time." He nodded, but a shadow crossed his face. What if it doesn't work? His vulnerability laid bare the stakes. It was a difficult question, but she fought to fill the room with as much positivity as the space would allow. "It will," she insisted, pulling him closer. "You've overcome so much already. This is just another hurdle." The nurse returned, bringing a tray laden with vials and syringes. Every item felt heavy with implications. She moved with a practiced ease and prepared the medications while the doctor outlined the treatment. The room settled into a rhythm, a symphony of hope and determination mixed with anxiety. "Any questions?" the doctor asked, glancing between them after a summary of the plan. "If we start these treatments," Mr. Thompson ventured, "when could I return to normal life?" "Remember, it's a process," the doctor said gently. "There might be bumps along the way, and some days will be harder than others. But if everything goes well, we'll reevaluate in a few weeks." As those words settled, Sarah felt the weight of time press down on her. Weeks could feel like lifetimes. "We can do this," she said, her voice unwavering. Just then, the tension seeped back in when her manager cleared his throat again, his expression only slightly less stormy. "Sarah, you know there are legalities at play here. We need to think about your position. This is, after all, a conflict of interest." Mr. Thompson lifted his head, eyeing Sarah with a spark of defiance. "If this is about me being your patient," he started, but Sarah squeezed his hand tighter, cutting him off. "It's not about that," she interjected quickly. It's about being a human. I won't abandon you when you need someone most. She could see the lines of worry deepen on Mr. Thompson's forehead, each crease a reminder of the burden he carried. He needed reassurance, not the heavy force of bureaucracy. I want you on my team, Sarah. But if it means getting you in trouble, I won't let that happen, she promised. I'm not leaving your side. Her manager's expression morphed into a mixture of frustration and disbelief. This isn't a game, Sarah. Their expectations will fall to you, and I can't let that happen without addressing the risks involved. It was a moment charged with tension. Sarah's heart raced as she weighed the depth of commitment. Could she really gamble everything on a patient, even one she felt so deeply about? Perhaps it was a leap of faith they both needed to take. Mr. Thompson turned to her, his gaze steady, cutting through her doubts. You believe in me, even when I can't believe in myself, he said softly. Let us stand by each other. His words struck a chord deep within her, stirring the courage she didn't know she had. Yes, let us. We'll face whatever storm together, she said firmly, drowning out the dissonance. As the doctor embarked on practicalities, Sarah's resolve solidified. There would be obstacles ahead, but the essence of their connection felt stronger than any challenge. They were entering a battle neither could face alone, and together, they just might find their way through. Sarah. Mr. Thompson started again, a flicker of urgency in his voice. There is something important. I need you to know something about my life before all this. It's going to change everything. Her pulse quickened. What could he possibly reveal that would alter the course of their journey? The air thick with anticipation, she braced herself for his words. The room fell silent, the weight of Mr. Thompson's words hanging heavily in the air. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest, each beat resonating like a drum, urging him to continue. She leaned in closer, her breaths shallow as she waited for the revelation that could change everything. Before the illness, Mr. Thompson began, his voice barely above a whisper, I was someone people depended on, someone who seemed to have it all. He paused, the flicker of vulnerability evident in his eyes. But I lost everything. My job, my reputation, everything that defined me vanished once the diagnosis came. And I was too proud to ask for help. Her eyebrows knit together in confusion. But what does that mean? You're not just a patient. There's more to you than this illness. He sighed deeply, the lines on his face deepening as he seemed to wrestle with the memories. I was a venture capitalist, Sarah. Not just anyone, a successful one, he spoke slowly, making sure she understood the magnitude of what he was saying. I handled millions, made risky deals that changed lives, including my own. But I ignored the signs. Ignored my health in pursuit of wealth. And now his eyes darkened, and for a moment, Sarah could hardly recognize the man who had been so spirited and determined in their shared fight. Now, I'm just a shadow of who I used to be, he continued, bitterness creeping into his words. I'm afraid that if I can't get through this, I'll never find that version of myself again. Tears brimming, Sarah felt the rush of emotions: pity for the life he lost, admiration for how far he was willing to fight, and fierce determination to help him reclaim what he thought was lost. You don't have to carry this weight alone, she said, her voice steady. You're still here, and that's what matters. It's time for a new beginning. A small smile broke through his somber facade. You really believe that? I do, she affirmed, her spirit igniting once more. You have the capacity to rebuild. Not just your health, but your life too. We will fight this together, step by step. He nodded slowly, and for the first time, a glimmer of hope emerged in his eyes. And I'll share with you everything I know, the skills I honed over years. There's still time for me to contribute to fight back against this. Her heart surged with potential as she envisioned the journey ahead. They weren't just battling sickness anymore, they were readying for a rebirth, not only for him but for herself too. But then, a familiar figure stepped into the doorway, her manager's expression one of disbelief and concern. Are you really saying you plan on mixing business and healing here, Sarah? Do you think it's wise to engage with someone who I don't care what's wise? Sarah interjected fiercely. He's more than a patient to me. He's a person who needs support. And I won't abandon that. Mr. Thompson glanced at Sarah, the depth of gratitude evident in his gaze. The cracks in his bravado were beginning to mend. As fresh resolve ignited within the room, Sarah felt a rush of excitement. Together, they could change the narrative, he could teach her while she healed him. But just as they both began to dream of a plan, Mr. Thompson hesitated, his brow furrowed with another thought. There's more I have to tell you, something about my life before all this, it could change everything. Her breath caught again. What other revelations awaited? As anticipation swirled, Sarah wondered if this were the moment that could truly transform them both. The door swung wide open, leading to a fate neither of them could foresee. What revelations could bring them closer, or tear them apart? Mr. Thompson's voice wavered, the tension in the air electric as he gathered himself. Back when I was still thriving, I got involved in a project that felt like a dream, at least at first. I poured my heart into it, Sarah. It was more than just business for me. It was about changing lives, about creating something meaningful. Sarah leaned forward, her curiosity piqued. What was it? A healthcare startup that aimed to make quality medicine accessible to everyone, he continued, his eyes widening at the memory. I believed in it so fiercely. We had investors lined up, and then tragedy struck. There was a catastrophic incident, a patient died because of a flaw in our system. We lost everything overnight, including my faith in myself. Guilt twisted in Sarah's gut. But that wasn't your fault. Sometimes things happen that are beyond our control. Maybe, he replied, the bitterness creeping back into his tone. But I could never shake the feeling I let everyone down. I was too paralyzed by my pride to admit how broken I felt. Instead, I buried myself in work, pushing the pain deep inside until it manifested as this illness. She watched as his brave facade started to crack. The strength he had shown was colliding with a vulnerability she had not seen before. That's a heavy burden to carry alone. You don't have to keep hiding, Mr. Thompson. We can confront those demons together. He nodded slowly, almost as if he was trying to absorb her words. I thought I was resilient, but I was fooling myself. My life was a series of masks, Sarah, businessman, father, provider. I thought if I wore them well enough, I could escape my reality. A flicker of realization crossed her mind. You're a father? His eyes softened. I have a son. I've been distant. I wanted to shield him from my failures, but instead, I pushed him away. I can't remember the last time I connected with him. Her heart broke for both of them. I can't imagine how that feels, but it's not too late. You can still mend that relationship. It's not just about healing your body, it's about healing your spirit. You can take steps back into his life. He looked at her, the initial defenses fading slowly, and she felt the possibility of hope blooming like a fragile flower. You really think so? I know so, she said softly, feeling the warmth of their shared determination. We can tackle this together, just like you said. But it's going to take vulnerability. You have to face your past. Embrace it instead of hiding from it. He let out a shaky breath, his composure finally wavering. How do I start? An idea sparked in her mind. Let's make a plan. You could call your son, tell him everything, the truth of who you are now, and who you want to be for him going forward. It's a first step into a new business venture. A new chance at parenthood. He hesitated, but for the first time, a flicker of interest danced in his eyes. You think he would listen to me? Sarah smiled gently. I think he would want to hear your truth. The real you. The weight of the world lifted just a fraction as Mr. Thompson nodded again, a little firmer this time. A sense of renewal crackled between them, and Sarah felt a surge of excitement for his journey. They were both on the cusp of something profound, a collaboration that could lead them both to healing. And just then, the door swung open once more, this time with a sound that shattered the tender moment. A nurse rushed in, her face pale and urgency palpable. "Sarah. We need you, there's an emergency in the ICU." Heart racing, she turned to Mr. Thompson, the connection between them pulsating with intensity. "We'll discuss the plan later. I want to hear about your son, but right now, I need to go." "Wait," Mr. Thompson said, panic flickering in his eyes. "What if this is a turning point? If I lose you now, trust me," she urged, her pulse quickening. "You won't lose me. I'm here, more than ever. Just hold on to that hope we sparked." With one last reassuring glance, she dashed out, adrenaline pumping through her veins. The excitement and fear swirled within her chest as she captured a fleeting thought. What if that emergency changed everything for both of them forever? What if their plans had to adapt in ways they couldn't even foresee? She pushed the thoughts aside, focusing on the immediate. It was time to act. As she left, Mr. Thompson stared into space, hope and fear intertwined. Would he have the courage to change? Would Sarah be able to handle what awaited her on the other side of this door? The answers loomed just out of reach, waiting to be uncovered. The fluorescent lights buzzed above Sarah as she sprinted down the stark hallway, her heart pounding not just from exertion, but from the weight of uncertainty pressing on her chest. Her mind raced with fear for the patients, for their families, and for her own fragile threads of hope for Mr. Thompson. The idea that he could reconnect with his son felt like a lifeline, but would it slip away if she didn't act fast? She pushed through the ICU doors, the atmosphere thick with urgency. Nurses scrambled, doctors shouted commands, and patients lay connected to machines, the sounds of beeping monitors punctuating the chaos. Sarah scanned the room, locking eyes with a charged nurse, who gestured her over. "Sarah. We have a critical situation. Mr. Garcia's in respiratory failure. We need to intubate, now." The word struck her like a lightning bolt. Swallowing her anxiety, she nodded sharply, falling seamlessly into her training. She gathered supplies and prepared for the insertion, each movement a mechanical response to the pressure enveloping her. Throughout the chaos, one thought echoed louder than the rest: she had to make things right. Not just for Mr. Thompson, but for every patient whose life hung in the balance. Hope was a fragile thing, and she knew how easily it could shatter. As she worked, glancing at Mr. Garcia's struggling form, the reality of her own life pressed in. She couldn't ignore her own inner turmoil, the echoing fears of making a difference and feeling inadequate that twisted inside her like a knotted rope. But then, right there, she began to see a reflection of Mr. Thompson's struggles. She was trapped by her own sense of failure, just as he had been. And perhaps, by helping others push through their darkest moments, she too could find a way to heal. After what felt like an eternity, they stabilized Mr. Garcia. Exhausted but relieved, Sarah stepped back, wiping perspiration from her brow. She took a deep breath, the realization dawning that, in the crucible of pressure, she was not retreating into herself but reaching toward greater purpose. Then, her phone buzzed urgently in her pocket. She retrieved it, and her heart sank as she read Mr. Thompson's name flashing on the screen. With a quick glance around, she slipped out of the noisy chaos to answer. "Mr. Thompson." Her voice came alive with anticipation. "Sarah," his voice trembled, the usual confidence stripped away. "Things feel heavier than before. I don't know if I can do this. I was hoping you could help me understand how to talk to my son." She closed her eyes for a moment, feeling the connection they shared earlier pulse through her. He was standing on the brink of a life-changing moment, just as she had. The urge to guide him was almost overwhelming. "Yes. Just breathe. It's about being honest. Speak from your heart. He needs to hear your truth." "I'm scared," he admitted, a crack in his tone. "And that's okay," she replied, instantly filled with warmth. "Facing fear is part of the journey. You've got to trust it will lead you somewhere important." Before they could say more, the door opened and a doctor called her back to the ICU. "Sarah. We need you again." "Mr. Thompson, I have to go," she said quickly. "But promise me you'll take this step. Don't let fear hold you back." "Promise," he confirmed, steely resolve breaking through the doubt. As she hung up, dread washed over her. Would he follow through? Returning to the hospital chaos, adrenaline coursed through her again. The fear and hope blending within her legs as she pushed through the nearest door. What if he did call? What would his son think? The pace quickened in her chest, leaving her wrestling with whether they were both ready for what the next moments would hold. The stakes were rising. For both Mr. Thompson and herself, the journey was only just beginning. The sharp beeping of monitors flooded Sarah's ears as she stepped back into the ICU. Each pulse seemed to signal a life hanging in the balance, propelling her forward with renewed urgency. Distant shouts and hurried footsteps melded into the frantic rhythm of the ward. "Sarah! Over here!" The charge nurse's voice cut through the noise like an anchoring lifeline. She rushed over, her heart still racing from the call with Mr. Thompson. "What is happening?" "Case number 4, massive stroke. He is non-responsive." The nurse's expression was grave, worry etched deep into her features. "We need to assess and prepare for possible intervention." Sarah nodded, mentally shifting gears. This was what she trained for, what she'd chosen this path for. She dove into action, grabbing a stethoscope and slipping on gloves, allowing mere seconds to wash away the looming unease about Mr. Thompson. She couldn't afford to dwell on anything but the patient right in front of her. But even as she worked, fragments of Mr. Thompson's voice threaded through her mind. Could he really reach out to his son? The thought ignited a flicker of optimism in her chest, a gentle reminder of the connections that could redefine lives. Minutes passed like hours. With a quick assessment and a few deft movements, they stabilized the new patient as best they could. The tension in Sarah's shoulders began to ease, but just as quickly, another nurse rushed over. "Sarah! We need you in room 6. Mr. Garcia is showing signs of distress." Panic surged anew. She couldn't catch her breath, a kaleidoscope of urgency spinning around her. They shifted again, a team of hands and hearts working to make a difference in a world of uncertainty. "Not on my watch," she whispered under her breath, the desire to protect each life pushing her forward. She entered room 6, her focus unwavering as she glanced at Mr. Garcia's fragile form, noticing the way his chest struggled to rise and fall. The evidence of life was there, but it flickered like a candle, battling a tempest. The team quickly assessed the situation. Increased support. A doctor barked. As Sarah followed orders, the gravity of her work weighed heavily on her. Each action felt tied to something greater than herself. Would Mr. Thompson's courage blossom? Was there hope for more than a simple connection? Thoughts cascaded like a stream through her mind, both beautifully chaotic and blindingly real. After what felt like an eternity, Mr. Garcia's condition began to stabilize, and a sense of relief washed over the room. She took a moment to breathe, gratitude filling her chest. The sound of a hand on her shoulder pulled her from her reverie. "Great job, Sarah. You're really making a difference here," a fellow nurse smiled, the warmth of camaraderie enveloping her in a soothing embrace. "Thanks," she replied, meeting the reassuring gaze. But even in this moment, her heart ached for Mr. Thompson. She couldn't shake the need to know whether he would talk to his son. Turning back, she felt a familiar buzz in her pocket. Fumbling, she withdrew her phone. There it was, Mr. Thompson's name glaring at her. Her fingers trembled as she pressed the button to answer. "Mr. Thompson." "Sarah." His voice cracked again, but there was something different this time. "I did it. I told him everything." The weight of his words settled deep in her heart, warmth washing over her. "You took that step?" she whispered, astonishment tinged with pride. "Yeah, I think I finally understand this journey." As they spoke, a renewed energy surged through her. Would this be the moment things changed for both of them? She wanted to ask more, but just then, the sound of alarms filled the room, a new urgency demanding her attention. "Sarah! We need you!" The shout echoed, pulling her from the conversation. "Mr. Thompson, I have to go." She gasped out, anxiety stark in her voice. "Okay, but promise me we talk more later." With a promise weighing heavily in the air, Sarah nodded, bracing herself for the onslaught of chaos. Her heart raced, the stakes everything. What had begun as a gripping moment of confrontation was evolving into something far greater. Both she and Mr. Thompson were stepping into the unknown, uncertain yet desperate for change. The journey was unfolding, and for better or worse, neither of them could turn back now. Would the path lead to healing, or would it push them further into turmoil? The chaos of the hospital faded into a distant hum as Sarah's feet pounded against the floor, racing toward the emergency in room 6. Her heart thudded relentlessly, a mix of adrenaline and the weight of Mr. Thompson's recent revelation. He had taken the leap, had found the courage to reach out to his son, to reclaim a piece of his life lost in darkness. As she burst into the clamorous room, her focus sharpened. The air tinged with fear. Alarms blared, confident feet hurried, but amidst the storm, Sarah found her center. Mr. Garcia lay unconscious, eyes closed, breathing shallow. "Prepare to intubate," a doctor shouted. Sarah slipped into action, her hands moving deftly, guided by instinct. Each movement became a prayer for hope, a hope not just for Mr. Garcia, but for Mr. Thompson too. She worked hard, determined not just to stabilize a patient but to prove to herself that amidst turbulence, healing was possible. A flash across the monitor caught her attention. The beeping steadied. "Nice work, team," Sarah breathed, allowing a moment of relief to wash over her. But as soon as it came, the urgency returned. Another call for help, another patient in distress. Sarah's thoughts zigzagged through her mind. How was Mr. Thompson? Did he manage to reach his son? Was this the beginning of his redemption? After an exhausting shift, she took a moment to breathe, her body weary but her spirit ignited. The unreachable connection began to surge through her again as she felt her phone buzz. She eagerly checked the screen. Mr. Thompson's name lit up, a beacon calling her. "Mr. Thompson?" She answered breathlessly, curiosity lacing her voice. "Sarah. I did it. I called him. I told my son everything." His voice cracked, but this time it was brimming with raw emotion. A wave of joy washed over her. "You actually reached out. How did he respond?" He listened," he said. "I told him about my failures and how lost I felt since everything changed. I felt vulnerable, but in sharing, I felt lighter." Sarah closed her eyes, savoring the moment. Vulnerability was a powerful force, it led them both to this turning point. "That's incredible, Mr. Thompson. You took a step toward healing, not just for yourself but for him too." He took a deep breath, and she could hear the relief lacing his voice. "It was terrifying, but necessary. And I realized maybe this illness wasn't the end for me. It could be the start of something new." "Yes. This is just the beginning," Sarah beamed, pride swelling in her heart. "You've created a chance to rebuild those connections in your life." "Thank you, Sarah," he whispered, his gratitude pouring through the phone. "Because of you, I felt brave enough to try." Her heart swelled. But just then, the call for help echoed through the ICU again, dragging her back to the moment. "Mr. Thompson, I really have to go now. The team needs me," she said, urgency rising. "Go, Sarah, and remember what you're doing matters. You're making a difference." A knot tightened in her throat as she replied, "I will always be here for you. You're not alone." They ended the call, and Sarah turned back to her duties, a fire ignited in her bones. She was healing others, but in a way, she was finding her path too. The hospital felt alive with possibility. As the night wore on, she committed herself to her work. Each patient became a stake in her heart's resolve. Just like Mr. Thompson, they were not just bodies, they were stories, lives intertwined by fate. By dawn, the whirlwind of the night began to calm, the chaos ebbing into a tranquil rhythm. She had faced fears that night, both her own and those of her patients. With a final breath, she stepped out of the ICU, her heart not only heavy with exhaustion but buoyed by hope. She had forged a deep connection with Mr. Thompson, pushing against societal expectations and uncovering truths beneath her own layers of fear. And in that validation, she felt reborn, ready to tackle the world beyond these walls. Sarah knew their journey wasn't over. With Mr. Thompson on a path to recovery and a son reconnecting with his father, they both would rewrite their narratives fearlessly. As sunlight streamed through the hospital windows, Sarah stepped into a new day, grounded in purpose. Life might be unpredictable, but now, they faced it together, forging connections that transcended all boundaries. Embracing possibilities, Sarah understood the importance of sharing their story. They would inspire others to challenge norms, heal, and redefine what it meant to truly live. Embrace connection, they would say. Find strength in vulnerability. Discover life together. And that, she realized, made the fight worthwhile. Now, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories that can change lives. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and ensure your connection to our journey. Comment your reactions and feelings about this powerful ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your support matters.